Look out there. A ghastly river full of agony and despair. These are the souls of DPS players applying to Mythic Plus groups. Rejection after rejection, the frustration grows. Then, finally, they are accepted into the loving arms of a group. The run begins. A wipe happens. A player leaves. The cycle of pain begins anew. One must admire their dedication. All they want is to macro their DPS cooldowns and trinkets together and blow up bots all night long. But they are left out in the cold. Despair not, my DPS brothers and sisters, for the light has granted me a grand vision of a future where you are no longer treated as second-class subscribers. On that day, you will be able to do dailies and fish and all types of chill stuff while you wait for your Mythic Plus queue to pop. Do not lose hope, my sweet, sweet dum-dums. Brighter days await. So it has been spoken. So it shall be. Yeah, Mythic Plus needs a group finder. DPS players shouldn't have to spend 2 to 3 hours getting rejected all night just to finally get in a group. I think it's especially bad for people that come into the season late so you don't have a good IO score. Maybe you're playing an off-meta class, you're not quite as geared yet. I mean, it can really be a struggle to get a group. And it seems that as the season goes on and on, the group standards go through the roof. I mean, they're going to want 615 gear and 3k IO to get into a +4 here soon. I don't really care how you implement it. Start them down at the +2s, and once you've timed 10 +2s, then you can start queuing for +3s. 10 +3s, +4s, and so on. Change that number, change that requirement, I don't care. But you got to be able to queue up for a group, especially for the DPS players. I mean, applying to group after group just to get rejected sucks. I think we can do a lot better. And of course, you leave the pre-made section, so people that are looking to put a particular comp or group together, no problem, just leave that how it is right now. But we need a queue system. Some members, not all, some members of the Mythic Plus community like to really harp on people need to get good. But for people to get good, they need to get groups. And sitting in there night after night, I know some people will do it, but like I said in my last video, some people won't. And as the season goes on, if we're talking about retention, that process could get pretty frustrating. I could see where it could get real frustrating real quick. So you've got all the tools in place. It just needs to be coded and implemented. And we need Mythic Plus groups, and we need a Mythic Plus queue system. I've been getting some comments where people say, hey, there's nothing wrong with Mythic Plus. It's supposed to be a challenging game mode, and you just need to get better at your class, get better at interrupting, not bite off more than you can chew. It basically all boils down to some version of get good. And so I thought an interesting thing to do would be to examine exactly what getting good means in the context of the Mythic Plus and the Mythic Plus community. And to do this, let us go back in time to the world of Warcraft. Retailers have been on an island hopping campaign so long, I don't even know if you remember what it looks like, but here it is. And we shall begin our Get Good story here in the quaint zone of Northshire Valley. Aw, I love this place. Oh, and look there. Look at who it is. It's a young bow pal. And he wants to become the goodest holy pally that ever Mythic Plussed.
Excellent.
Let's help our dear bow pal here get good. First thing you're going to need though, bow pal, you're going to need to get gear. When we talk about gearing in the War Within Season 1 here, The great thing about these incremental gear increases is that they can just continuously scale up with the content. I mean, I know they cap out at a point, but as the difficulty increases, you get these increases in gear, and that's the whole thing. I think one of the problems this season in particular is that sometimes you get these difficulty spikes going from like a 6 to a 7. Sometimes that doesn't seem worth the eye level change. Now, you do get the hero track gear, so I'm not saying that there's not some trade-off to it. But for some players, those difficulty increases don't justify the rewards. With the recent changes to the crest being knocked down from 9s to 8s, I think overall they've really tuned this up to be decent. I really do. I think the gearing is okay. The only thing that's kind of awkward here is that you get 616 gear out of tier 8 delves, but here in Mythic Plus, you get the 616 gear from 7s. And I think this is where that Challenger's Peril kicks in, and you get that 15-second reduction in time every time someone dies, which means you really have to run a pretty clean run. I mean, one wipe in the wrong section of a dungeon, when you consider the penalty plus the run back, can really put your key in jeopardy. I don't know, maybe we should put some more checkpoints out, especially on like Siege and some of these longer ones. I don't know, maybe a little more tuning is done. But let's be honest, Blizzard's been on the tuning. And overall, especially now with the crest changes and stuff like that, gearing seems to be the least of these when it comes to the problems in Mythic Plus right now. So throw on some gear, Bo Pal, and let's roll. Oh, yeah. There you go, handsome. Looking good. I think we can all agree that Bo Pal is so sexy. And now he's all geared up and he's ready to go. Hit that Mythic Plus, isn't he? Oh no, we forgot. Remember? We need add-ons. And not just an add-on. Nameplates, boss mods, weak auras, damage and healing meters. It's such an interesting thing that some people like to talk about how Mythic Plus shouldn't be dumbed down and made easy for people. But this is the same community whose members lather their monitor in add-ons and cooldown tracking because it dumbs the game down and makes it easier. Makes it easier to see what's going on. And I mean, we've got horns and honking and signs and all types of shit now, huh? I mean, these weak auras are incredible. Here's a question. If you guys are so dedicated to the idea of improvement, why do you use all these add-ons? Why don't you just get good? Something to think about. Oh, look who it is. We got another. Is that a Pally? Oh, yeah.
Outstanding.
Let's clap. Looking good. Oh, and it's a redhead too. Be careful with those. I've been shacked up with one for 20 plus years now. They can be trouble. Yeah, it's all in the hips. What do I tell y'all? It's all in those hips. That's where the healing comes from. You got to work them out. All right, Rosalite, I'll stop harassing you. Go have fun. Leave the gingers alone, Bo Pal. We've got our gear. We've got our add-ons. Now we're ready to get going. But hold on for a sec, because Brother Samuel and I were talking, and you know what? You know what we should do for Bo Pal? We should tell him about the affixes. What is it this week? It's Xal'atath's Bargain Devour. Okay, so we're going to tell Bo Pal, don't suck, get good, and make sure you read up on the affixes. Now, where does he go to do that again? Can you guys point it out to me? Is it here in the adventure guide? Suggested content? The dungeon journals? Because he wants to get good, and you guys tell him to get good. Where does he go to do that, though, exactly? Can you point it out to me? Where he can read up on these affixes and understand how his class interacts with them? Oh, wait. In Retail WoW, that's all about leveling up as fast as possible and getting on a gear treadmill, your most popular in-game mode by a mile, that needs a boatload of new healers and tank, but there's no in-game tools that help explain all this complicated shit that's been conjured up. Is that what you're telling me? You say, well, just go to Wowhead or whatever. Okay, let's do it. Well, here we go. Right here, Xal'atath's Bargain on Wowhead. While in combat, Xal'atath tears open rifts that devour the essence of players. That's clear as mud. And that doesn't help me as a new healer learn how to deal with the mechanic. Oh, here it is. I had to come to the competitive WoW subreddit, scroll down and look to educate myself on the best way to deal with it. And once you know this, it's actually one of the easier affixes to deal with. But there are no in-game tools that tell you, hey, you're going to need to dispel this off yourself and everybody else can dispel it too. It's easiest if you just bring a poison cleansing totem. Why hide it? Why make it some mystery? Because when people die to things they don't understand, that's the most frustrating. If I die to a mechanic I stand in, that's fine. I screwed up. I can improve that. But if I don't even know what's going on or I don't understand it, I'm out. I'm done. I mean, Mythic Plus has been around since Legion, and there's still not a guide on how to play your class of Mythic Plus. How is that acceptable? So we'll just give Bopal a brief overview of what they are, and he can just go in there and wipe his group a few times until he figures it out. That's the expectation, right? Bopal, there's going to be these affixes that occur throughout the dungeon run, and basically what they are is micro mechanics made by Blizzard to make healers' lives more miserable. I think that's a pretty good summary. You know what else we should coach Bopal up on real quick is CC, because he needs to go in there and use his CC and interrupts. That's part of being good, right? So he's going to go in there, use that CC, and then he can use his AoE disorient to CC a bunch of mobs or break their cast. Oh, except for if he does that, he can really screw his whole team over, can't he? And can you point out to me again where in all these guides and journals and systems that you explain the CC changes? Because I keep hearing people type in the comments, you just got to learn to CC. Okay, where exactly would I learn that at? Where would I learn that if I hit my AoE disorient, I can screw my team over? Oh, that's not in the game either. Well, Brother Eisen will explain it for us. I love this guy's content. Link down in the description to this video. It's called Stop CCs and Interrupts, but the mobs keep casting. Because it's a little more complicated than just interrupting things. If you're not informed about the CC changes, I suggest everyone watch this video. It's just awesome. And subscribe my boy Eisen here. His content is outstanding. And he does a great job of going through it in the video, so I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to step on his toes. But for those of you who don't have time to watch the video, the top comment here sums it up perfectly. Basically, Blizz managed to make a system where using disorients, knockbacks, and AoE stuns is counterintuitive and often harmful to the group as a whole. And why did they make this change? Do you guys remember? What happened was that the Get Good community was chaining their AoE CCs in order to bypass and lock down whole groups of mobs. And Blizzard were like, we don't want you to just use your tools that you have to overcome the mechanics. We want you to actually have to do them and target them and interrupt them and slow it down. And so now you've got a system where if you use an AoE CC, the mobs can come out of that and just chain cast, and you can't interrupt them even if you try. And so we'll tell our Bopal, just get good and learn how to interrupt in CC, but there's an asterisk by that statement too, right? And again, can you point to the in-game resources that help people learn this stuff and explain it to them, those who want to improve? All right, we got our add-on crutches, our affix knowledge, we understand the counterintuitive CC system, and we're finally ready to get good. Unless you're a DPS player, especially an off-meta spec, who got started a little late. They get to sign up for group after group and get rejected over and over again, sometimes for hours at a time. And as we previously discussed, they're just one wipe away from the group they finally get in breaking apart. And that whole process starts over again. I want to stress here, and this is the most important takeaway from this video, we need a Mythic Plus queue system. We need it for the DPS players who are paying $15 a month to get rejected over and over. And we also need it because the current system encourages meta chasing and unrealistic standards. And right away, you know if you create a Mythic Plus looking for group system, you're going to have a lot more DPS players than healers and tanks. So healers and tanks are going to have to be greatly incentivized. And to me, 5, 10, 15 runs in this looking for group system and you get Mythic track gear. I want to reward the players that are going to come out here and help the community. I get that people can get with their Discord dudes and stay in their small little group and all communicate and get it done. But there's a huge difference in difficulty between pugs and coordinated groups. And so the people that are willing to come out here and play with the community, jump into a pile of randoms and lead them to victory, to me, that's who should be getting Mythic track gear. If you think Mythic track's a little too much, then load them up with crests, load them up with a special T-Mog, whatever. But no matter what you decide to do and how you decide to structure it and reward it, you know right away that tanks and healers are going to be your bottlenecks. So I think from the beginning, you need to heavily incentivize it. And to me, I got a lot more respect for the people out here doing pugs than all the Discord dudes. No disrespect. I get that that's a lot more fun and that pugs are a nightmare. Trust me, I get it this season more than ever, especially for healers. If we like to brag about the challenging content and doing the challenging content, the most challenging content is most certainly healing pugs over coordinated groups. And just some final thoughts on getting good here. Is that what's happening? Is that what the highest level players are doing? Is this getting good where we all flip over to one spec and push it as high as possible? Why don't all these holy paladins down at 9, 10s, and 11s, why is there not one at 14? Why don't they just get good? Huh? This doesn't look like getting good to me. This looks like we find the most powerful classes and all hop over to them. Isn't that what's going on here? Am I reading this wrong? 3/4 of the healers at 12 are resto shamans, 100% at 14s. I mean, you got to give your hats off to these guys. It seems like they did actually get good. As of the recording of this video, there's something like 5 or 6 holy paladins with keystone heroes, and there's 5,300 resto shamans. Someone pointed that out to me in a comment. Isn't that crazy? Why don't all those people that flipped over to resto shamans just learn to get good? Why do they have to go play on the overtuned class? Not really overtuned in HPS-wise, it's just got the utility. Can I tell you where I think all this, it's supposed to be hard, just get good, comes from? I think it comes from a bunch of idiots who sit there with their files full of add-ons that highlight dangerous mobs and cast, honk, beep, squelch, and put a billboard across your screen when bad stuff's about to happen. They've got thousands of hours played, and many of the highest level players just jump on whatever the strongest specs are. And from there, from all of that, they have the audacity to sit there and lecture people on getting good. What a luxury to be that fucking stupid. Mythic Plus is awesome. It's an awesome game mode. It really is. And I have said in every video I've made when it comes to Blizzard Dungeons that, and I've used this term every time to just keep the message consistent, they are without peer. There is not one game that you can go out there, not another MMO, not another anything, where you can go and have the experience that you get in World of Warcraft Dungeons. They are awesome. They are fun. They are beautiful. The abilities are cool. It's just, they're really, really good at developing this type of content. I would say it's their specialty. And if we look at Mythic Plus this season, we have to be encouraged. I mean, if you just look at the numbers here, you started off strong, you've got a steady decline, but this always happens. And, you know, there's a chart up on Competitive WoW, I'll leave it down in the description, that compares this to past seasons. This is about the decline you get. And remember, we've got delves. So I think a lot of people that have been turned off from the current state of Mythic Plus are just like, I'm just going to delve and fish and chill and we'll see what they do. But you've got to be encouraged, because even with all the problems they've had and some of the tuning issues, and most certainly the class balance situation when it comes to healers, which is kind of a bottleneck for Mythic Plus in a lot of ways, you still got pretty high participation and you've maintained a pretty steady and average decline to it. So it's most certainly not falling off of a cliff. I think a lot of players are hanging around to see how they tune this up. And even today, they brought in some buffs and nerfs. They moved the Gilded Crest down a level. So they are making changes and trying to tune this stuff up. But then on the other hand, you can look at this chart and they were just about to nerf Holy Paladins by 5%. So sometimes we're taking one step forward and a big step back in another area. They reverted that change, so they are listening, and we're going to give them props for that. But just the fact that they even thought that was a good idea is a little concerning to me. And certainly down here at the lower level keys, you can play whatever you want and still be successful, but you are working harder. It would be much easier if you played a shaman. And my opinion that this season isn't that much fun and is terrible for pugs is not some unique opinion. You can scroll through any of these forums and you can find people over and over that will tell you I won't even play with pugs this season. I just stick to my own group and I push keys that way. Of course, you'll find the people that say everything's fine, but I think I've made my point, and there's a lot of ways that we could improve and a lot of systems that we could improve on to help people get better at this game mode. I'm not asking you to turn down the difficulty, but if you're going to keep it this difficult, especially for pug players, you need to add resources and you need to think about ways to increase their ability to get good. I mean, people want to lecture me on difficult content. I come from WoW PvP. That's what I did. I did WoW PvP up until like 2 seasons ago. And that's not hitting bots. That's actually hitting other players. And it's a small handful of players that have spent a lot of time learning how to delete your ass off the map. If you think healing in Mythic Plus is challenging, go heal in Solo Shuffle. Oh, and by the way, in PvP, when you fail, you lose rating. I mean, all these Mythic Plusers like to talk about, it's supposed to be difficult. Well, all right then, let's make it just like PvP, where if you don't time your key, you lose rating. What would that do to the Mythic Plus community? Because that's how it works in PvP. It's not uncommon to lose sometimes 3, 4. I mean, I've even had 500 rating right on the Barbie. And you got to climb your way back up. I'm not opposed to difficult content. I've been doing the difficult content in WoW for a long time. I'm not telling you this is too hard. I'm telling you it's not fun. And specifically, I'm telling you it's not fun to heal on off-meta healers. And a lot of changes that have been made have not been good for the pug community, and a lot of these tools that are missing that I've pointed out would be very helpful. Mythic Plus is awesome. It's an awesome game mode, but it needs some TLC. And to be completely honest, it needs more than just some nerfs and buffs to the dungeons. But anyway, that's enough for now. I think all of us need to get back to getting good. See y'all out there. Oklahoma out.